So last class, right, we already talked about the 4 types of hormones, how they play their important roles in the regulations of the menstruation cycles. And then today we'll focus about the implantations of the embryo. So like what kind of events that will happen after the embryo successfully undergo implantations, and then they will develop become a human baby. Okay, they'll become a human baby later. Oh, okay. So we'll talk about here. Yeah, the growth and the developments of the fetus. Okay, or the fetus itself. So after fertilizations of the oviducts, the zygotes travel towards the uterus. So on the uterus, right, and then we already know about the uterus, they must be maintained a very, very thick lining with the very thick layer of the mucus. They need to have a thick layer of mucus deposits on the uterus lining. So this is to facilitate the implantations of the zygote, okay? So it takes about 3 days during the time the zygote will divide 7 times to form a ball or cell. So this ball or cell, right, they call as the embryo. So later, the embryo, they will embed itself into the thick lining. You can see, now the endometrial lining, they become very thick. They become very thick due to the influence of the progesterone hormones and also the estrogen hormones, okay? But mainly is due to the progesterone hormones. They cause the thickening of the uterus lining. So this will start their gestation periods. Gestations means a pregnancy, okay? The pregnancy periods for the human is about 9 months. So the major development of the organs that will take place within the first 12 weeks, during which time the embryo, they will get the nutrients from the mothers by the diffusion through the uterus lining. So you can see, right, this picture showing that this is the embryo. Oh, it's not embryo, yeah. It will be zygote first, okay? Zygote, they will undergo divisions. The division become a ball or cell, right? And then this ball or cell is known as the embryo, okay? So from the zygote, then they'll become embryo. Because embryo is more specialized compared to zygote. And then where you can see the location of placenta. So placenta is around here. Okay, so you can see that placenta is, I think, like a connection bridge between the fetus and the mothers. Like, so placenta, right, actually is, I think, like a site of the exchange of the materials between the maternal blood and the fetus blood. So here is a placenta, and then this whole place is the uterus. Okay, as the embryo, they are just enclose themselves inside the uterus, and then here will be the umbilical cords. Okay, umbilical cord is known as the 脐带. Okay, it's known as 脐带. Umbilical cord. So this umbilical cord, right, they will be connecting from the growing embryo and then to the placenta, right? So they will help to transport the nutrients and also the waste products, okay, between the maternal blood and the fetus blood. And then so the fetus, right, they are just being covered themselves inside the amniotic fluid. So here will be the amniotic fluid. So it's just bathing. They help to bathing the whole fetus. So this amniotic fluid, right, they have their own functions. So their function is just acting like protections of the fetus. Because in the fetus, right, they are just carried within the whole uterus, right? So we want to reduce the physical damage or shock to the fetus itself. So that's why we need to amniotic fluid. Because amniotic fluid, right, they can help to absorb the shock. And then here is the cervix. So you can see, right, the cervix. And then is a vagina here. So yeah. So the major of the growth organs take place within the first 12 weeks. So that time the embryo, they just get the nutrients from the mother. Okay, so how the embryo able to get the nutrients from the mother? It's just like they will be called as a process simple diffusion. You still remember about simple diffusion, right? Which is involved the diffusions of the movement of substance, okay? simple diffusions include the movements of the substance. So yeah, let me mute my WeChat. Movement of substance from the region of the high concentrations to the low concentrations. So what does this mean? Okay, it means that it's just very simple theory. Like, because of, you can just imagine, right, in the umbilical cords, this umbilical cord is connections, okay, between the maternal blood and the fetus blood, right? And then it just passed through this placenta, right? So this umbilical, right, they have the arteries and the vein. We call as what? We call as the umbilical artery and umbilical vein. So it's just like here. Yeah, okay, something like here. Like you can see, right, the connections between the placenta and the umbilical cord. So it will be something like this. So umbilical cord consists of the fetus blood vessel. So the fetus blood vessel, it includes the artery and the vein. So you can see, right, the artery, the red color one, the artery, which is the blood vessel with larger diameter, is referred to the arteries. And the blue, smaller diameter vessel, we know as the vein. So the umbilical cord is just consists of the umbilical artery and the umbilical vein. Artery and the umbilical vein. So this umbilical artery and umbilical vein, right, they were just connected. I mean, they are just embed themselves into the placenta membrane. Okay, so for the placenta side, right, here will be the mother blood vessel. And also the mother blood vessel will also include the arteries and also the vein itself. Also, they do have artery and vein itself. So you can just imagine that when there is a very high concentration, for example, high concentration of the urea found inside the blood vessel, right? High urea concentration. So this high urea concentration, right, is much more higher in the fetus blood vessel as compared to the mother blood vessel. Mother, definitely they will have a lower concentration of the urea. So how the urea able to diffuse later? So urea must be, they will diffuse from the area of the high concentrations, which is inside the fetus blood vessel, okay, into the lower concentration, which is inside the mother blood vessel, like this. Okay, so they will just move like this, okay, from the side of the higher concentrations to the side of lower concentrations. As the mother blood vessel, right, they must be a very higher concentrations of the glucose, okay, or any kind of nutrient molecule, and also oxygens, right? They have more oxygens and more nutrients like the glucose. So what they do, because they have higher concentration, right? And then the umbilical blood vessel, they must have a lower concentrations in terms of oxygens and also in terms of nutrients. So definitely they will just diffuse from the high to the low, okay, from the high concentration, which is inside the mother blood vessel, into the fetus blood vessel with a very low concentration. So they just happen in the simple diffusions method. Okay, so yeah. So placenta is being developed during the gestation periods, which the fetus is developed and grow by gaining the glucose, amino acid, fats, waters, and oxygens it needs from the mother bloods. Okay, so that means that the placenta, they will help to supply those nutrients, which include the glucose, amino acid, fats, and help to supply the water and oxygens from the mother bloods and get into the fetus blood vessel. The blood are run opposite each other, okay? They are never mixing in the placenta. Definitely, I mean, it means that the artery and vein, right, they are just separate to each other, never mix together, okay? Because we won't mix the oxygenated bloods and the deoxygenated bloods in human bloods, okay? And then the fetus blood, they'll connect to and from the placenta by the umbilical cord. So here is the umbilical cord, okay? This umbilical cord, right, actually they have an umbilical artery and the umbilical vein. So how the mother bloods, they able to absorb the waste from the fetus bloods in the placenta. So why the mother bloods, they can absorb the waste from the fetus blood? It's because that fetus blood, right, they always have a very higher concentration of the waste, like the urea or the carbon dioxide. Definitely they will have a higher concentration inside the fetus bloods compared to the mother blood, right? They will always be lower level. So that's why they can just diffuse into the mother blood. Okay, so that means a substance like the carbon dioxide and urea, they are always removed from the fetus bloods into the mother bloods as they do not build up to a dangerous level. And then the movements of all molecules across the placenta, they just occur by the diffusions due to the difference in the concentration gradient. So as just now, what we say that it's just movement of the substance from the region of the higher concentration, which is inside the mother bloods, to the lower concentration, which is inside the fetus blood vessels. And also, another thing is the placenta, right? Since they are acting like the site of the exchange of material. So how is their structural adaptations? So the structure, right, they must be a very, they must be facilitated the exchange rate of the substance. So they must be very thin, okay? Just like in the alveolus, right? Alveolus will also have very thin wall, have a lot of blood vessels associated with the surface of the alveolus, just to facilitate the diffusions, the rate of diffusions. So that's why they must they must have a very large surface area, first one, and then secondly, they must be very thin wall, okay? They must have a very thin wall. So thin wall, they can help to reduce the distance of the gaseous exchange. So they just travel by a very shorter distance. And then placenta, they just acting like barrier to prevent the toxins and the pathogens getting into fetus bloods. I'm not sure, but do you know that, sometimes some of the disease, right, they can transmit from the mothers to their growing fetus, okay, through the placenta. They just pass through the placenta barrier. For example, like the HIV, HIV virus, right, they can be transmitted from the mother, which is undergo pregnancy, to their growing baby inside their uterus. They can pass the barrier and get into the fetus. So the fetus is very innocent, right? Not all toxic molecule or the pathogenic organism, they are being stopped from passing through the placenta. Okay, and then this usually depends on size of molecule. It means that not all toxic molecule they can pass through the placenta, but still got some of the toxic molecule and some of the pathogenic organism they can pass through the placenta. For example, like some other virus agents like the HIV virus. Okay, so this is meaning that why pregnant women they are advised not to smoke during the pregnancy, as a molecule like nicotines also can pass through the placenta. So this will infect their fetus. And then after the baby is being born, right, the umbilical cord is being cut. So this will not hurt, and even there are no nerve in it, just two blood vessels, which is they just have the umbilical artery and umbilical vein. So it's tied off to prevent bleeding and shrivel up and fall off after a few days, leaving the belly button behind. Okay, so this is meaning that because you know that your umbilical cord actually is very long, okay, it's quite long. There's a certain length, So that's why even you cut it, right, you still left some remnants. So that's why the remnants, right, they need to be tied off first, and then later they will fall off later. Yeah, they will fall later. So you just leave your belly button behind. So if the placenta detached from the uterus wall shortly after birth, right, and is pushed out due to the contraction in the muscular wall of uterus, known as the afterbirth. Okay, this is not too important, right? But it's just showing that sometimes, right, the placenta they can be loosened. They can be loosened. This is due to usually it's being related to the aging process. For example, in the women's, especially in the women, right? They are just growing older and older, right? So that's why their uterus muscular wall, right? They will be like losing the kind of stretchability. They'll become less flexible. So that's why the placenta, right? They don't have enough like muscle to hold on the placenta. So that's why sometimes they will be fall off. So remember the structure. Okay, that's all. Just need to know that placenta, they just help into exchange of the nutrients bacteria, okay, between the fetus and the mothers. Okay, just need to know that 2 points at here. Exchange of material, right? And also their structure, large surface area, and they have very thin wall. And also sometimes some pathogens, right, they can pass through the barrier of the placenta and get into the fetus. And then now we talk about stage of birth, okay, which involve in the how the baby is coming out. Okay, so first, if the women they want to give birth, right, the amniotic sacs they must be breaking down. Okay, amniotic sacs inside they contain what? They contain the amniotic fluid. Amniotic fluid, right, is refer like the 羊水, yang shui. I'm not sure you heard about it before or not. This one. Amniotic fluid is a pool of water. And then this water, right, is being covered inside the amniotic sacs. So amniotic fluid, right, is called as what? 羊水. So if the women, right, is getting to give birth, okay, I mean, is ready to give birth, usually the first step is the amniotic sac will break. So they will be like feeling the splashing of the water, they just fall down, okay, because the amniotic sac is being break already. So that's why this will be very dangerous for them. They need to be admitted to the hospital and then they need to be operate to give out the baby. And then you have a very strong contraction of muscle in the uterus wall. You cannot control it, okay? It will be just happen very like automatically, especially, why the uterus wall, they need to contract very stronger. And then this is usually they have a very stronger contraction. Because later they need to give out the baby, right? They need to give birth. Yeah, so the cervix will be dilated and get wider. Cervix refer to what? Something like 宫颈, 宫颈. So because like how the doctors able to check on the women's whether they'll be determined that this woman, right, is going to give birth maybe in the next 1 hour or next days, is the checking on their cervix dilation. If the women's, right, is ready to give birth, right, the cervix, right, will be dilated with a longer requires a longer length. So that's why they are just preparing to give to give birth later. So they can also like measure how is the cervix dilatation. So if they're longer in the length of cervix, right, means that the whole of cervix they dilate wider. So that means that the woman is really need to give birth already. So after that, baby will pass through the vagina. Okay, they pass through the vagina, and then after the baby is being passed out, so the umbilical cord is tied and cut. Yeah. So after birth is delivered, is the woman, right? They will just like the placenta. Yeah, the placenta will come out. So usually is baby will come out first. After that, placenta will come out, okay? Because placenta will just not stay inside the, it will not stay inside the woman's uterus. Because placenta is not used already after the baby is been come out. Because placenta, right, they're just acting like the site of the nutrient exchange between the fetus and the mother blood vessel, right? So that's why if the baby is become out, that's why the placenta, they need to come out also because they become useless already. Okay, if the placenta didn't come out, right, it still remain inside the uterus of the mother. It might be a source of, it will become a very dangerous because it might become the source of the bacterial infections if the placenta just remain inside. So antenatal cares before birth is the name given to the care and advice given to expectant mothers along with check on fetal growth and development. So this is like before they giving a birth. So like the diet, right? The diet, they will take the folic acids to prevent any development issues with the fetus and the importance of balanced diet. A mother, right, which undergo pregnancy, they need to have extra nutrition supplements to them. Is because now they are carrying the baby. So the baby, right, actually they will consume the nutrients from the mother. So that's why the mother, they need to supplement with the additional nutrition. And then they need to exercise, and also they need to avoid like any health precautions like the tobacco, alcohol, and drugs. They need to avoid those kind of things because the tobacco and alcohol, right, and also the drug, they can bypass the placenta barrier and get into the baby, right? So it's just very dangerous for the baby. Okay. And then now we talk about breastfeeding. And during pregnancy, right, the mammary glands, they will enlarge and become prepared to secrete out the milk. So shortly after birth, the mother will be stimulated to release the milk due to sucking actions of the baby at the breast. Okay, so we already know that the 4 types of hormones help in the regulation of the menstrual cycle. Then how about the hormones? What's the type of the hormones they help into the producing of the breast milk in the mother? So here is the hormone. It didn't mention about hormones. Oh, it didn't mention about hormones. So the example of hormones, right? But you can write down. Okay, this is for your extra information on it. Prolactin. I'm not sure about this or not, but you definitely will see these hormones like when you go to study higher level of the biology. Okay, you have prolactin and the oxytocin. Yeah, so those are the hormones, right? Those are the hormones. They will be secret out when the mother is having the production of the mammary, of the milk in the mammary gland. So that's why they will secrete this hormone. Because this hormone, right, they can help to boost the milk production. Means that they will stimulate the mother to produce more milk. Okay, so you have the breastfeeding and bottle feeding, right? So which one is a more natural way, and then they'll give a better advantage? Better survival advantage to the baby. Actually, we prefer the breastfeeding instead of bottle feeding, because breastfeeding, right, is actually the mothers, they'll just provide their own milk, their own milk to the baby. And then the milk produced by the mother, right, actually is very nutritious, right? It contains a lot of antibody inside. They have the antibody inside, and also they also have the milk protein inside, right? So it just contains exactly the right amount of nutrients in the right amount of the baby needs at a different stage. And also it contains this antibody. So this is what we want to get from the mothers. Okay, we want to get this antibody. It's because that baby, right, once they are born, do they have their own antibody? Do they have their own immune response? And that's where once the baby is being born, right, do they develop their own immune response? Yes or no?
Yes.
The answer is no. Okay, the answer is no. It's because once the baby is being born, right, their immune system is not fully developed. Immune system take a longer time to develop. Yeah, so that's why baby at this stage, right, is very weak and susceptible to any infections. It's very fragile. Okay, so that's why the mother milk, okay, they will provide these antibodies to the baby while the baby is suckling the milk from them. Okay, I'm not sure do you remember about in chapter 11, right, we learned about passive immunity. So this breastfeeding, right, is a type of the passive natural immunity. Okay, this belong to this one. It's not active immunity, it's a passive immunity. Passive immunity provided to the baby. So this antibody, they can help the baby prevent them from getting any infections. Okay, because this antibody will provide the passive immunity to the baby itself. It's not active immunity, it's because this antibody is not being produced by the baby, but it's being produced by mother. Just the mother, they supply the antibody to the baby by the breastfeeding. So the disadvantage is what? It does not come easily to the mother. It can contribute to the postnatal depressions. You know what I mean by postnatal depression or not? 产后忧郁症. It's a kind of like common issue facing by the mother. Postnatal depression. Depression means what? 忧郁症, okay? Psychological disorder. Because you know, after the women's, right, they just give birth to one baby, right? The hormones will change, okay? They will feel different. They feel really different compared to their previous life stage. Right? Now they have baby already, right? They need to have responsible to their baby. Okay, so that's all. This is the advantage of breastfeeding. And now we talk about bottle feeding, right? Bottle feeding, you're just purchasing the milk powder, okay? And then you can just mix up. Yeah. So bottle feeding, right, is expensive, right? Because you need to purchase, okay, purchase the milk powder. So the breastfeeding, right, the advantage is what? They are free. But the disadvantage is they might cause something like postnatal depression to the mother. Okay. Actually, this is very rare to come up in exam, breastfeeding. But this is just for your information only, okay? Remember, breastfeeding is a kind of passive immunity because inside the milk, you have the antibody. You have the antibody produced by the mother. And then now we talk about this one, secondary sexual characteristic. Okay. Primary sexual characteristics, they are present during development in the uterus and are the difference in the reproductive organs between the male and female. But now we talk about secondary sexual characteristic is the change that occur after puberty. Okay, after you just reaching your maybe 14, 15 years old, above, onward than that. So now you become adolescent already. Okay, so you will develop this kind of like sexual characteristic. Okay, so this is due to what? This is due to influence of the hormones. So in the female, right, it will be the estrogen effect. So estrogen effect, right, they'll call those happen, okay? Menstrual cycle begins, hips get wider, okay, body hair grow, and same to the testosterone. Testosterone is just, we call it as a sexual, a sex hormone, sorry. This one, sex hormone. Why we call this a sex hormone? Sex hormones include this testosterone and estrogen. It's because this sex hormone, right, they will provide this male with the secondary sexual characteristic, which is, those are the effect, okay, effect of the testosterone. So we can have a read by ourselves. Okay, that's all. Okay, so we finished about this part already, and then let me go to this part. So we already know, right, how is the 4 type of hormone change in the menstrual cycle in the first 7 days, day 14 and day 28. And then this is the most commonly being asking. This is more common type of question that will come out in the exam. Menstrual cycle. They will always ask about menstrual cycle. Later we can have a look. And also type of birth control, right? So we have this 4 type of birth control. And then let me bring you to this one. Okay, where is it? This one. Fertility treatments. Okay. So we learn about this artificial inseminations. Another thing is we learn about what? Oh, this one, IVF. In vitro fertilization. We talk about this first. Artificial insemination. Okay, this is a very interesting topic to learn. When we use this artificial insemination, in the situation when when the male, right, is not producing a healthy sperm, we can use a donor sperm. Okay, or sometimes some of the, we call it the animal production, right? Because they need to have a very large amount of the offspring produced at one time. So that's why they just artificially inject the female vagina with the sperm. So this is called artificial insemination. Instead of using the actual male undergo the mating with the female, right? They're just taking the sperm directly inject into the female vagina. So we call it the artificial insemination. For example, let me show you a picture. This one. Artificial inseminations, which is in the pig, okay, in the pig productions. See what are they doing? You'll see the picture. Yeah, this is the, we call it sow. What's mean by sow? Sow is the female pig. This is a female pig, okay? So this is the bottle, okay? Inside the bottle, right, actually is have the semen. Semen from the male pig. Semen from the male pig. So they just directly inject this semen into the female pig. So later, this male pig, they will undergo pregnancy, and then they will give birth to a litter of the piglets. Yeah, so by this way, right, you can produce a large amount of the offspring in a very short time, right? You no need to use the male pig, right, to mate of this female pig. No need. You just need to take their semen only. Okay? Just take that semen. See? This is a semen color, right? You can have a look. Semen color, right, is a little bit whitish, a little bit whitish. And then by this process, right, you can have an advantage, right? Because you can like extract out the semen from the male pig, right? And then this semen, right, you can dilute it. So that's why you can dilute it, and then you can use more semen. You can alter the semen to be used by a lot of the female pig. So this will save the resource, okay? So you can see, right, the sperm are placed into the female vagina at the fertile point in their menstrual cycle. Okay, so the social issue to consider include that the male must be able to cope with the fact that child is not biologically the sperm donor, okay, may be the father's multiple children who are not able to know their parentage. Okay, actually this artificial insemination, right, is not common in humans. Okay, luckily it's not common in humans, but it's much more common to be used in the animal productions. Because they can produce a very large amount of the offspring, right? For example, why they use this artificial insemination in this female pig, right, is because that, especially in Chinese, right, we eat a lot of pork. 我们吃很多猪肉啊 okay? So where the pork come from? The pork just come from piglet. Yeah, this one, okay? You need to have, see? This is the pork that we eat. Come from those piglet. Yeah. So where we can get the piglet from? You get the piglet from the sow. So that's why you need to make the sow become pregnant. So how you make the sow become pregnant? You just inject the sow with the semen. Okay? And that's why we can harvest those piglets become our food. Yeah, so this is reality, okay? We use this to fulfill our human needs for the foods. And then now we talk about the fertility drugs. This is a method used when the female is not producing enough egg. So hormones including FSH are given to stimulate the egg productions. Okay, this is meaning that because sometimes the female, right, they will have their own defects. So the defect include that maybe their FSH hormone is not enough. So if the FSH hormone is not enough, right, they can't even producing a mature oocyte. You don't have mature oocyte, then how can you proceed to the next step? Because every time, right, the starting of the menstrual cycle, right, it will be shedding of the endometrial lining, and also at the same time, the follicle stimulating hormones, they will also be produced. So you can see, right, the first 5 days of follicle stimulating hormone, they're picking up compared to other hormones, because they want to stimulate the growth and development of follicle first. Make them from the immature follicle become mature follicle first. So later they can do what? They can do the ovulation, right, to release out the ovum, so they can fertilize with the sperm. So later you will have what? You have the estrogens and the progesterone help to thicken the uterus lining. Yeah, if I speak too fast already, you can let me know. Sorry. And then now we talk about this in vitro fertilization. Okay, this is more, I mean, this is much more common to be used in human. And then it's very expensive. In vitro fertilizations. In Hawaii, called as what? 体外受精. Oh, sorry. I'm not sure. In vitro fertilization. 试管婴儿. Okay, 试管婴儿. This one. Because I learned my thing in the okay, yeah, 体外受精试管婴儿. Okay, this is much more common to be used in human. Human use this a lot if they want to get a baby. Okay, so what is this? What does it mean by this? In vitro fertilization is usually either the male or female that will have their problem. For example, the female, right, they cannot conceive naturally even after taking fertility drugs. Or if these are the issue in both male and female in the couple, right, IVF can be used. For example, if the male, right, it's not only female got problem, but sometimes the problem might come from the male because the male, they do not produce a very healthy sperm. Sometimes in the male, right, the sperm quality is not good enough. Maybe the sperm is not motile, you know. 精虫不够活跃. Okay, the sperm is not motile. So that's why when the male, right, okay, the sperm of the male, right, they enter into female's uterus and get into their orbita, right? Sometimes the male sperm is they are not too motile, not too healthy enough, right? They will die off. So if they die off, they cannot reach the female ovum. So that's why the problem will be happen. So why we are using this in vitro fertilization? So actually we are artificially injecting the sperm to the ovum. Okay, so as first we need to do our process first. Okay, so like we need to extract out the sperm and also the ovum first. I think let me show a picture. It's very hard for you to understand if just looking at those pictures. I'm sorry about that. Let me show a picture first. I think we can do some question. Where is it? Let me find your question. Okay, then we can do together. I remember there's some questions. Is it here, right? Okay. Yeah. I think it's at here. Okay, you can open this one. Okay, you can open this one. Chapter 16, paper 4, past year questions. Waiting for a while.
Okay.
Oh. Okay, you open already?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, thanks. I think it's this question, right? This is here. Okay, this is a very nice picture. Let me show you. Okay, 21. Number 21. Okay, paper 4, number 21. Okay. See? A little bit blur, sorry. Okay. So when we are using this IVF, 体外受精, this is for the people or for the couple which they are infertile. What's mean by infertile? Infertile means that they will have some issue, okay, to produce a healthy sperm or healthy ovum. So this will lead to the failure of the fertilization. So that's why we need to use this. Okay, so you have this artificial insemination, which is they will just collect the sperm. Okay, so they will just artificially collect the sperm from the, for example, from the male pig, right? From the male pig, they just collect the sperm and then they dilute to, they can dilute the sperm to make 1,000 of copy, right? And then they can use those 1,000 copy inject into 1,000 of the female pig, something like that. So you just collect the sperm into the test tube, right? And then you just inject the sperm into the vagina. So this is artificial insemination. Then how about the in vitro fertilization? Is first, you need to have the male donors or the female donors. Okay, means that in the female, right, for the female, okay, you need to use a string, and then you need to inject the egg from the ovary, inject out, and then you put them into the petri dish. For the male also, you need to collect the sperm. You need to collect the semen first, right? You need to collect the semen, and then you get the sperm. Okay, and then you will use a string, right, to get that one copy of the sperm, and then put into the petri dish. So on the petri dish, right, you know what's mean by petri dish or not? Petri dish is just something like a plate, okay, a plate. So this plate, right, it will have the ovum and sperm placing together. So that's why the ovum and sperm, right, they can fertilize. Yeah, they can mix together. So after they being mixed together, right, they will form what? They will form the embryo. Okay, they will form embryo. And then you can see what will happen. In the natural form of fertilization, you only form just one embryo only, because you only have one ovum fused with one sperm, right? But if you're doing this IVF, in vitro fertilizations, you might be producing 2, 3, 4 copy of the embryo, or even more. Okay, I think 5, 6 embryo also they can get, because you just when you collect the egg, right? Okay, when you collect the eggs, right, you can collect about few copy of eggs and also sperm. So you can have a few copy of egg and sperm. They just mix together in one petri dish. So that's why you can become a few embryo. Okay, you can have like multiple copy of embryo, and then later you need to do what? You need to do, you need to do the embryo grading. Okay, which is this one. I didn't show this picture, right? Oh, okay, embryo grading. Because right, at the petri dish, you have about multiple embryo being produced. Not only one, but you have about 3, 4 also can. And then those embryo, right, they will start to do what? They will start to do division, right? They will start to do this division. So that's why you need to select the embryo, which is the most pretty to be formed, like this. See? Okay, you have this fertilized egg first, so later they'll become 2 cell, 4 cell, yeah, later that. So okay, about this embryo grading in the fertilizations in the IVF, So they can just select like this. Okay, let me show you a video. Yeah, see, they can just do the selections, because some embryo, right, they might be not successfully being divided. Okay, so requires a poor grading embryo. So they will discard this embryo. They will just take the most successfully divided embryo. See, this is how they will do it. Okay, embryo grading chart. So that's why this process is it requires very intense process and very time consuming, So that's why this process is very, very, very expensive. People spend a lot of money to do this IVF, but they will get a baby, okay? So it's still worth for them. So you can see, right, you have the grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, the poor grade embryo. Because some of the embryo, after they being fertilized, right, they might be not have a very, they might be like developed not a good quality one. So they will just only select the best quality. Because you don't want to have a defect on your baby later. So that's why you definitely need to select the best quality embryo. Yeah, so this is how they this is how they select. So after that, okay, they select the good embryo, right? And then they allow the good embryo to grow in the culture dish. Okay, so later either they will freeze the spare embryo, okay? They can freeze the spare embryo, okay, into the, we call as the nitrogen tank. If they don't want to I mean, if the parents, right, they don't want to have children. So, I mean, the parents, okay, they don't want to have children in the current amount of time. So that's why they can freeze them first. Yeah. So, or if they want to have children already, so that's why they can transfer the embryo into the female. They just implant into the uterus of the female, like this. Okay, so this is in vitro. Sorry, in vitro. In vitro means that the embryo itself, right, is being developed on outside of the female body. So because in vitro refer to the inside the testis, 试管婴儿, because the embryo is really developed in the petri dish, which is inside the testis, under the lab condition. So usually what they do is they will just purposely inject, right, the sperm into the embryo like this in the petri dish. Okay. So that's why you have a multiple copy of the embryo, and then you can select the embryo with the good quality. So for the exam purpose, right, you need to know the difference. Let me go back to the note just now. You need to know the advantage and the disadvantage. Okay. So the IVF, the egg, they are inseminated in the petri dish using the sperm from the male. Okay, so once the embryo has been formed, right, they are being placed back into the uterus of the female. So usually, several embryos are implanted to increase the chance of one developing further. So you know, sometimes when they do this IVF, right, they can carry about 2 or 3 babies at the end. Okay, instead of 1 baby, because most of the human, right, unless very rare condition, right, you will have twins. But IVF, right, IVF, okay, they will carry about 4 babies, maybe. You can have more than that. Multiple baby, okay. See, 8 baby born with experimental 3-parent IVF. Wow, so much. Because you can select multiple embryo and just implant into the woman's uterus. So IVF is very expensive. So not every couples can afford it. And then because you can plant several embryo at the one time, so that's why risk of the multiple birth is quite high. Okay. You know why they want to plant several embryo inside? Is because that they already spent a lot of money to get this technique and then to get this well-fertilized embryo. Okay. And then they worry about this well-fertilized embryo, right? After they implant, right? If you just implant only that one embryo, okay, what about if the embryo degrade later? And then you already spend your money, but your embryo didn't divide, become a fetus, right? And then you lost your money also, right? So that's why they will plant more than one, about 2 or 3 embryo inside. So if one embryo, right, they unfortunately they degrade, but they still have another one, right? Another 1 or 2. That's why. But you have all embryo being successfully fertilized, right? You have about 2 or 3 baby later. Okay, so this is a process. You just need to know about process, and then you need to know about the similarity and the treatments. Like some of the people, right, they use the fertility drugs and the IVF to have the children. So fertility drug, right, usually they do what? They use this follicle stimulating hormones. They just inject themselves, especially they will inject the female. Okay, they inject the female with the follicle stimulating hormones. So that's why they can do what? They can do the follicle. I mean, they can stimulate production of the mature follicle first. So later they can continue to the next step, which is fertilization. So fertility drug, right? They will just encourage the follicle productions and the egg developments, which is a mature one. Okay, you need to have a mature oocyte being produced to undergo fertilization. So this process, right, they don't involve in the sexual intercourse. So both also, okay, because they're asking about similarity, right? Similarity, yeah. So both require the collection of the sperm from the male donors. So both involve fertilizations, fusion of male and female gametes. And then both must have the implantations. Then how about IVF? IVF, right? Okay, the fertilization, it just occur in the petri dish. But how about the AI? Okay, in the artificial insemination, the fertilizations occur inside the body naturally. Okay, it's still inside the body. Just IVF is outside, which is under the petri dish. The egg is removed from the ovary in the IVF. But in the AI, right, which is the artificial insemination, your egg it still remains. We still remain inside the ovum. But you just need to artificially collect the semen, okay, the sperm, and then inject inside. Then about in the IVF, right, you have the embryo developed outside of IVF. You know, your embryo is being developed outside of IVF. But in the AI, right, your embryo is being developed inside the uterus. And then the embryolization process is being possible in the IVF, but it's not possible in the AI. Okay. And then you can freeze and store the embryo in the IVF. You know where they store the freeze embryo? They will store at here, I think. IVF. In vitro fertilizations. In vitro. This is just for you to know only, okay? Freeze of the embryo, okay? They will store until like this, okay? In this place, nitrogen tank, which is a very cold, like this, see? Most of the embryo are being frozen, see? They're frozen and then they are freeze, stored in the liquid nitrogen tank at the extremely low temperature about, wow, so low, -196, to preserve them for future use. Yeah, so this will help to store their livability of the embryo. So if the parent, right, they feel they are ready to have the children, right, so that's why they can just get the embryo to be unfreeze, and then they will implant into the woman's uterus. Interesting, right? If you have money, you can do a lot of things. Yeah, okay, so that's all. IVF and the fertility drugs. And then another thing you need to know what? Okay, so you need to know the difference. Okay, the difference. Let me show you other question. Yeah. Okay. For this one, you need to know about stage, right? So, sperm, okay, they enter the vagina, and then they will get into the uterus, right? So the fertilization is being occurred inside the oviduct or the uterine tubes. So you form the diploid zygotes. So after that zygote, they will travel down the oviducts, and then they will implant on the endometrial wall of the uterus, or you can just say that they will just implant on the uterus lining. So the mitosis cell division take place, and then they become the embryo later. So actually zygote, right, they will undergo divisions to form a ball of cell. Actually, this ball of cell is called as the morula. Okay, it's called as morula. It's just something like this. It didn't show morula. Okay, but it's morula. Morula is just like ball of cell. You know, the one cell, right, they will divide, become 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. Yeah, those cell, okay, 32 to 64 stage of cell, because morula. So after that will become what? Blastula. Blastula is referred that inside the cell, right, they already has a fluid, and then it becomes blastocyst. So when they become blastocyst, right, that means that they are already ready to be implanted on the endometrial lining. Okay, so a part of the blastocyst, right, okay, later they will develop become a placenta. Okay, they will become placenta because they have this one umbilical cords develop between the mother and fetus, so they will help the delivery and excretion of the harmful waste by the placenta. So this placenta, right, they help to exchange of the material. So they will usually help to transport the nutrients from the mother to the fetus, and then they will help to excrete out the waste products from the fetus and get into the mother. And then this is our question. Okay, sometimes the question they will ask you something like this. they ask you to compare. Okay, they ask you to compare the level, okay, the level between LH and FSH. You just need to know that at the 14 days, right, even though both of the hormone, they have a surge, they reach their highest level, but LH is still highest level compared to FSH. Because LH, right, they will need to do the ovulation later. Ovulation refers to the release of the mature ovum out from the secondary follicle. Oh, sorry, from the Graafian follicle, okay, which is a tertiary follicle, the mature follicle. Okay, so if you want to compare, right, you just say that both hormones follow the same patterns, but both reach a peak at day 14. But LH will still have higher concentrations than FSH at the day 14. So how the hormones reach their target organs? They'll just travel by bloodstream. Okay, and then just now, right, I already sent you a note, which is this one. You can have a read. Okay, this one you can scroll down, have a read, because it includes all of the important point, important keyword to be included in your answer. Okay, so about this one, follicle stimulating hormones. What you need to write in the exam, right? If they ask you about the function, so this is the keyword that you should include. FSH help to stimulate the growth and development of follicle, and also they will help to do what? Secretion of estrogen. Why? It's because a growing follicle, right, they can secrete estrogens. Okay, remember, a growing follicle, they will secrete the estrogen. Because the growing follicle, right, the outside of that, there will be a lot of follicular cell. So those cells, they can secrete estrogen. So later, estrogen, they will become high level. So when they become high level, right, they will cause a positive feedback to the hypothalamus, so they can release more estrogens and more progesterone. Then how about LH? LH just stimulate ovulation at day 14 only. Okay, at day 14. Then how about the estrogens? Estrogen, right, is being produced by the follicle cell, which is surround the ovum. So they will help to promote the repair of the endometrial linings. Because, right, estrogens, they will just peak earlier than the progesterone. So they help to promote the repair first. Yeah. So they will help to stimulate the follicle to produce the estrogens. So then how about progesterone? Progesterone is being produced by the corpus tubes, which is after they just finish the ovulation, right? They will produce the corpus tubes. And also from the placenta. So remember that placenta, they can produce both hormones, progesterone and estrogen, but many will produce progesterone. So they can help to maintain the thickness of the endometrial linings. And then they reach a very high level in the very late pregnancy. So if you have a very high level of the progesterone, right, you can inhibit the FSH and LH. So that's why a woman who undergo pregnancy, they will not undergo menstruation at the same time. Because menstruation is being induced by the FSH and the LH. Then progesterone is being induced by the pregnancy. Okay, you want to maintain the pregnancy. So, if you want a woman's, right, if you want a pregnant woman to do the abortions, so what you need to do is you just inject the hormones, okay? The hormones which can lyse the corpus tube. You need to lyse the corpus tube first. So if you lyse the corpus tube, right, means that you destroy the corpus tube. If you destroy the corpus tube, what will happen is the progesterone level will increase or decrease. Tell me, if the corpus tube, right, is being destroyed, the progesterone, they will still maintain or they will reduce. Your answer is, if the corpuscle is being destroyed, because you know that corpuscle, they will help to secrete out the progesterone, right? So what will happen to the progesterone? It will be maintained in their level or it will reduce?
Reduce.
Yes, it will reduce. Yeah. So there's a hormones, okay? Those hormones is not good for the pregnant women, because those hormones, right, if you inject the hormones, right, they will just directly lyse, lyse. They will break down the corpuscle. So if the corpuscle being break down, right, what will happen is progesterone level, they will just starting to decline. So if your progesterone level is declined, what will happen? Decline, okay, decline. Same to estrogen, okay, they will also decline. So what happened is the endometrial lining become thinner, not thicker already, become thinner. So that's why you have abortion, because the embryo cannot implant on it because it's too thin already. Okay, so sometimes the woman, they will have the abortion is due to the uterus lining. They will just become very thin. Okay, not thick, become very thin. So that's why it causes the growing embryo cannot attach. Okay, they cannot attach to the lining, so they will be like shedding off. So they will undergo abortion. 会流产的原因就是因为那个子宫内膜它不够厚，很薄，所以那个胚胎会脱落啊 ，something like that. So here's a keyword that you need to include in your answer. Remember, okay? So this is the, yeah, I think you already know already, right? This is the graph. And then, yeah, so you need to know about event in the first 5 days, right? Which is the beginning of the menstrual cycle. Between day 1 to day 7, menstrual cycle was starting. So the endometrial lining become very thinner. So at the point, at this point of time, when the endometrial lining become very thinner, right? Actually, what will happen is your follicle stimulating hormones is just picking up. So they will stimulate the growth and development of the follicle to become mature follicle later. So usually, right, in the girls, right, maybe you don't know, but in the girls, right, the menstrual cycle is about 28 days. But the period which is their bleeding, right, they're just about 5 days, okay, 5 to 7 days. Most longer time will be 7 days only. Okay, shorter time will be 3 days, okay, 3, 5, 7 like that. And then day 6 to day 14, right, in the second week, there will be a thickening of the uterus and we grow through the estrogen effects. Okay, so you can see estrogen, they will start to increase their levels after 1 week, which is about second week. Okay, and then on the third week, right, the estrogens, they will start to pick up. Yeah, so thickness of the endometrial lining will remain constant. Okay, so ovulation due to the progesterone effect, right, there's no fertilizations. So what does this mean? This means that if you have a very high level of progesterone, you will not have, you will have a very low level FSH and LH. So that's why you will not have the ovulation. Means that you're not producing a mature oocyte. If you are not producing a mature oocyte, right, you will not having ovulations because the progesterone is very, the progesterone level is very, very high. Okay, so here's a cycle. Okay, here's a cycle, which is from the parent cell, right? The parent cell referred here is a primordial follicle. So this is a very progenitor cell found inside the ovum. So they will undergo we call it meiosis, they undergo meiosis and then become the primary follicle and they become secondary follicle. They will grow, become graphite follicle, which is a mature follicle. So inside, right, you can see there's an empty blank space inside. So this is just referred to the fluid. Actually, inside they contain the fluid. Something like liquid, okay, they are liquid inside. So they burst and then release a mature ovum. So later they will regress, become a corpuscle. So this corpuscle, right, is very important because these corpuscles, they will produce what? They will produce the progesterone and the estrogens, just like the placenta. Actually, this corpuscle is just acting like placenta, okay? It have a similar function with the placenta, which is they will secrete the progesterone and the estrogens. It's 2D. Okay, so you have the meiosis and the mitosis. Meiosis and the mitosis. So meiosis, right, is involved in the sexual reproductions. They are producing a different cell with a very high chromosome number. So that's why, So that's why meiosis, right, they can increase the genetic variations. Okay, they help to increase genetic variations. So Adam and Suyang, actually you are also a product of meiosis also. Okay, because you are a fusion of the gametes of your parent cell, right? But after that, when you become a zygote, right, you will undergo mitosis. You undergo mitosis. So the mitosis, right, is referred to the cell, which is the somatic body cell, or the embryo, or the zygote cell, stem cell, any of the body cell in our body just happen mitosis to increase the cell number. For example, how your muscle cell able to repair themselves. Muscle cell, right, they will also undergo mitosis. Okay, they will have this stem cell. So actually the one who undergo mitosis is this one, stem cell. Yeah, is this one, see? Stem cell. Okay, and that's where you can find your stem cell. Which organ contain a very large number of stem cell? Do you want to have a guess? Do you want to have a guess? Which organ found most of the stem cell?
Bone marrow.
Yes, it's bone marrow, okay? You found a stem cell in the bone marrow and also in your organ. You know, in every of your body organ, right? For example, your liver cell, kidney cell, there is also a small number of stem cell. There's also a small number of stem cells. So they will just like prepare that if your organ cell, they will be damaged, right? So they still can replace with some of the new cell. Yeah. So the production site will be the bone marrow, which is inside the bone, right? So this stem cell is a unspecialized cell. The function of stem cell is they will just do the cell division. They cannot carry other function because they are unspecialized. Okay, unspecialized means that they do not carry out any special function. So after that, they will undergo differentiations, or we call specialization. So that's why they become those specific cell. Okay. Oh, sorry, it's called specialized cell. Muscle cell, fat cell, bone cell, blood cell. Those are the specialized cell which undergo specific functions. Okay, so you can see, right, the site which it undergo fertilization is on the oviduct, not at ovary, and also not at uterus. Please make this clear, okay? It's at the ovary. Oh, sorry, it's at the oviduct. Sorry, it's at the oviduct. Oviduct, or we call it uterine tube, which is the site the sperm encounter the eggs. Okay, they will undergo fertilizations. Another thing I want to show you is, yeah, I think that's all. Okay, I think that's all. Okay, and then you need to know, I think last week I already talked to you, right? Which is how the contraceptive pill is being worked to, I think, as a birth control, okay? Because contraceptive pill, right, is a kind of chemical birth control. Inside the contraceptive pill, right, you contain a lot of the hormones, okay, which is a progesterone or estrogen, or sometimes they only have progesterone only. Because of progesterone only, the effect always is already very, very obvious already, because progesterone, they can help to maintain the uterus lining, right? They can help the uterus lining become very thick and also become very thick mucus. Okay, you can see progesterone, they will thicken the cervical mucus, right? So they can block the entry of sperm. So the sperm, right, they cannot travel up like this. So you can see, right? So they'll just block at here. Okay, which is at here. They just block. Because inside, right, there's a lot of mucus. Right? You can just imagine, right? There's a lot of mucus due to the progesterone effect. So they will block the entry of sperm. And then, yeah, for this one, okay. So you know that testes and ovary, right? Their parent cell is actually diploid cell. But after that, they undergo the meiosis. So this process Q, they must be the meiosis. So they'll become the haploid sperm cell and haploid egg cell. Because you only learn 3 types of haploid cell, which is first sperm cell, egg cell, and another is pollen grain. Pollen grain is from the parent, is from the plant. Yeah, from the plant. So those are the product of the meiosis. So that's why they only have a single cell chromosome, which is the haploid. So after that, those fertilizations, they will become zygote. Yeah. Okay, I think that's all. Okay, let me show you other question. Wait me for a while. Okay, I forget to talk about HIV. Sorry, I forget to talk about HIV. Let me go to HIV, okay, which is the last part. So we almost finished chapter 16. Okay, so now we left the last part, which is the HIV first. HIV. HIV is a very, I don't know what to say, but HIV is a very, we call it it's an untreatable disease, you know. Okay, if you get HIV, right, you only can control the infections to prevent them become more severe, but you cannot totally eradicate at all. Okay, means that if you get HIV, right, you will be a lifelong carrier for the HIV. So be careful, okay? So how you can get the HIV is due to the unprotected sexual intercourse. Okay, unprotected sexual intercourse means that some of the people, right, they do sex, okay, without wearing like the condoms vanilla. So that's why this is called unprotected, because sexual activity, right, they can transmit pathogen also. Okay, you know, some virus that they can transmit by sex. Yeah, so they lead to the transfer of the pathogens due to the exchange of the body fluid. Okay, because you know your semen, okay, your semen, they can transmit some virus also. Yeah, so the HIV, they also can transmit by the semen also. They can transmit by the blood and the semen, yeah, but not by saliva. Okay, not by saliva. So you still can share food with the HIV patient. So the infection passed on this way are known as sexually transmitted infections. So example of this one is HIV, okay? The virus that lead to the development of the acquired immunodeficient disease. So you know the full name, okay? You need to memorize about full name. HIV is referred to the virus. It's not referred to disease. 艾滋病病毒 virus. You just like 5 years ago, okay? We know about the coronavirus, right? Have you heard about coronavirus? Coronavirus 5 years ago. Yeah. So HIV is also a virus. It's not disease. Because a human immunodeficiency virus. But HIV virus, they will cause the disease. This is known as AIDS, which is referred to the 艾滋病. Okay, acquired immunodeficient disease. So this acquired immunodeficiency refer to what? You can see their name is very interesting. Acquired immunodeficiency. Immunodeficient refer to their immune system is being fully suppressed or compromised. Means that they're totally losing their immune functions already. Okay, 免疫力低下. Have you heard about this before? 免疫力低下. Okay, this one. 免疫力低下. So HIV can be spread by the sharing needles with the infected persons or during blood transfusions. Also from the mother to fetus through the placenta, or also by the breastfeeding. Because of milk, right? The milk, they can transmit the virus also. Okay, then now we talk about how HIV affect the immune system. Sorry, just give me a few minutes only. I'm going to finish already. Are you rushing? Can I still continue about 5 minutes?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So how HIV affect your immune system is like, okay, I'm not sure, but you realize that a lot of virus, right, they just attack your immune system first. Their primary site is they will attack your immune system. So they are very, very clever. You know why? Because if they attack your immune system, right, if your immune system become weakened already, okay, you'll be susceptible to any kind of infections. Like, if you are healthy people, right, you are healthy people, okay, if you're being infected by a flu virus, like the influenza virus, okay, you heard about influenza virus, right, 禽流感, 流感. So your immune system, right, which is your lymphocyte, okay, lymphocyte, they will help to work very hard, okay, they can help you to fight off the infections, because lymphocyte can induce a very large production of the antibody, right? So the antibody can help to inhibit the virus, so they can kill the virus, so they can help to clear the infection, so you can recover from the virus infection. But what happens if you are infected by the HIV? What will happen? HIV, this virus, they will attack your lymphocyte. They just attack the lymphocyte. See, they directly attack to lymphocyte. So if your lymphocyte now is being destroyed, wow, now lymphocyte is being destroyed already. So when your lymphocyte is being destroyed, how they can work? They cannot work already, right? They cannot produce the antibody already. Because if you want to produce antibody, right, you need to have your lymphocyte first. Okay, later you will know more. Like how your cell able to produce antibody is like requires a B lymphocyte, okay? B lymphocyte. It's a kind of cell. 白血球, okay? So this cell, right, they will produce an antibody, this Y shape. So what happened is the virus, they will just destroy, I mean, they will just destroy this lymphocyte virus, which is this one, HIV virus. Actually, you have two lymphocytes, okay? One is T lymphocyte, one is B lymphocyte. This one, T lymphocyte, oh, sorry, T lymphocyte and the B lymphocyte. So this HIV virus, they can destroy both lymphocyte, okay? How they destroy lymphocyte? It's like they will just take in the lymphocyte because virus, right? Virus is a very, very small particle. So this small particle, right, they have their receptor. I'm not sure you still remember about the virus structure. You know, the virus structure, they have something like this. This is the nucleus, right? This is the nucleus. Oh, sorry, virus don't have nucleus. Virus have the DNA, okay? There's a nucleic acid inside. Oh, right here, like this. Sorry, I redraw again. Very funny in my picture. Yeah, so this is the virus, right? Okay. Just draw something like this. And this is virus. Then inside, right, they only have the DNA or RNA, okay? I just put DNA first. So they don't have nucleus, no ribosome, no mitochondria, no organelle inside the virus. They just have DNA only, which is a nucleic acid, DNA or RNA. And then this nucleic acid is being protected by the capsid proteins. These are capsid. Okay, they're just protected by the capsid protein. So what will happen is, and then sometimes the virus, right, they might have the envelope like this. 有一层膜包裹这 virus so this is called what? Envelope. So now what happened is the virus, right? Okay, the outside part, right? They have what? They have the receptor. They have receptor like this. These receptor proteins we know as what? 接收器. You just imagine receptor protein. So in the lymphocyte, right? They also have their receptor here. Okay. So this virus, right? When they attack the lymphocyte, actually is their receptor protein, which is known as glycoprotein. Their receptor protein they can match to the receptor protein on the B lymphocyte, so they can just engulf inside. They can just get entry into the B lymphocyte. So after they get entry into the lymphocyte, right? Then inside lymphocyte inside they have the nucleus, right? Is there a nucleus inside lymphocyte? Do they have nucleus? Yes or no? Hi. Lymphocyte is a eukaryote or a prokaryote cell. Yes, they have nucleus. Okay, I just give you answer. It have nucleus inside the lymphocyte. So what will happen is the virus, they just get into the lymphocyte, right? They will start release their DNA. See, they will just release inside. You can just imagine, right? They just release their DNA. They get inside. They get inside. So the DNA, right? They will pass through the DNA of the lymphocyte because lymphocyte inside they have nucleus, right? Inside the nucleus there will be a DNA. So now what happens is the DNA of the HIV virus, right? They will just incorporate itself into the DNA of the lymphocyte. So we can just imagine, like maybe like this is the original DNA of the lymphocyte, right? So inside now they already have the virus DNA. Okay. So now the DNA is being modified already because they are just addition with the virus DNA. So what happened is now the lymphocyte, right? They will start to produce virus proteins. They will start to produce virus proteins. So that's why they can make a lot of virus copy inside the lymphocyte. So until the lymphocyte, they burst. So when they burst, right, they can release 1,100 copy of the virus. So now lymphocyte is already being destroyed. Okay, understand? Are you okay? Hello.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So that's why HIV first they will destroy the lymphocyte first. Okay. So now lymphocyte they cannot work already. they cannot help to protect yourself because the function of lymphocyte is they help to defense against the pathogen, right? So now lymphocyte is being destroyed already. So that's why HIV, okay, they can weaken your immune system. We call it as a immunodeficiency. 让你这个抗体变到很低很弱 ，okay? They just weaken your immune system because they destroy your lymphocyte. Yeah, they destroy lymphocyte. Okay. So this will decrease the body ability to fight off infection. So it will lead to the AIDS, which is acquired immunodeficiency. So that's why you need to destroy the lymphocyte first by the HIV virus. So now any kind of virus, any kind of bacteria, they can just get into your body. They can just make a very severe infection to your body. Okay, so even a very, very simple cough or simple flu, right? They can kill by yourself. I mean, they really can kill yourself. So usually, right, the HIV virus is not being killed by HIV virus. Instead, it's being killed by the other kind of normal pathogens attack themselves. Okay, even a single flu, they can kill themselves also because now they totally lost their immune response towards the flu virus. Okay, so this is just a process, right? First, you need the HIV to attack to the receptor lymphocyte first, and then HIV virus. Oh, see, HIV, they just inject their genetic material. See, they inject their DNA into the lymphocyte. Because lymphocyte now is a host cell. Okay, every kind of viral replication, right? They need to have the host cell. Every virus replication, they need to have a host cell. Okay, if they don't have host cell, the virus cannot replicate. Host cell. 宿主细胞, because 宿主细胞. So now HIV, they use a lymphocyte, okay, as a machinery to make 1,000 copies of themselves. So until they burst, they release a lot of the HIV virus. So that's why HIV virus, HIV virus, right? They can reduce a very large amount of lymphocyte. Okay, so if you reduce large amount of lymphocyte, right, that means you reduce the amount of antibody being produced. So you can weaken your immune response. Okay, you can weaken your immune response. Okay, that's all. That's all for today. Yeah. So we almost finished chapter 16 now, okay? So please remember to do your chapter 16 paper 2, and then we will discuss it next week. Okay, I hope you enjoy the class and I hope you learned something interesting today. And that's well, is it interesting class today? You learn something?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, bye. See you, bye.